Hey, Haas, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you, Brandon?
I'm doing well as well. And we're back with the VideoDestruct podcast. We're going to talk a little spotlight episode on Fatal Frame, classic horror game from the PS2 era, I want to say.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
PS2 and Xbox.
Yeah. And that was the. I remember this game coming out. It was very prevalent for the horror genre when it was firing off in the PS2 run. So yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
and I've got all kinds of fun, like little tidbits and facts and stuff about it that are kind of fun, and we'll talk about that later. We'll kind of take a deep dive into. I really want to talk about the first entry in the series, just because it's kind of like two is a very kind of different game in some ways, and we can there's always time in the future to talk about that.
Yeah.
But we can talk briefly about the demo that I played for the PC, which is
Yeah, that was interesting when you mentioned it. So I wanted to talk about the Fatal Frame series because it ignited something in me when you talked about it. Because I didn't that it's been a while since like Fatal Frame's been a franchise at all, so or even out. So
yeah, it fell into this weird period where it was exclusive to Nintendo consoles. There was one for the fucking Wii U and one for the Wii, and it's like, guys, just because you can waggle the remote or hold the tablet up like it's the camera, dude, that is not an immersion level event or anything, guys. It fucking ain't. Like
it, it was the gimmick of the time, let's say. So they really wanted that.
It was the style of the time.
It was the style of the time.
But yeah, so let's talk about it. What have you been doing lately, Brandon? Let's have a little life checkup.
Yeah, well, I took a little trip to Cincinnati for the Micro Center because I've been kind of messing around with my computer a little bit and figured, yeah, you know what, needs a bit of an upgrade. Well, what I thought was happening was that when I was editing these videos and it kept crashing, I was like, something's wrong. This PC must be old. This thing must be like I don't know what's happening because like everything's like my memory is getting crashed and everything. And I realized after all of that Adobe Premiere is just a glitchy piece of garbage. So that's actually the real problem of everything. But I'm probably going to switch programs on video editing from there on. But it got me thinking like, this stuff's kind of old, and I'm going to head up with a buddy to Micro Center and in Cincy and see what I can do to deck this sucker out, and or maybe even beef up this office computer that I've got. So went up there, got a Ryzen 7 under your recommendation for the processor, and new graphics card as well, the 5060 Ti, I believe. NVIDIA.
Yeah, and you already had like a good amount of RAM and stuff like that, and you were on AM4. You had if I'm not mistaken, it was like a Ryzen 7 2700X, that you had for a good grip of years here. So my advice to you, since RAM and everything is so stupid expensive right now, why don't you just max out what you have on the AM4 platform and just go 5800 XT? So that's what you ended up doing, and it's going to be a huge uplift for you. Your render times and stuff are going to go way, way down.
Which is interesting because I'm not really a graphics hog user. I don't typically get the AAA stuff, but man, that Cyber Shadow is going to look real good on that. Like that Mina the Hollower, that's going to look crisp on it now.
I played the Mina the Hollower demo the other day. That game looks fucking awesome. Yeah, that game looks awesome.
I need to play the demo because they haven't they released the demo way back to certain people. They didn't have like a full demo like years ago, but it was like to certain like YouTubers and like press people. And they had just recently released the demo. I haven't played it yet. I need to dive into that.
At the time, I think it was only on the PS5, but I think it's on other stuff now. But if anything, that game is like a month away. Like that game's soon. I think it's in April.
Is it April? I thought, okay, yeah, because it was October of last year. They had to push it back to this year. That's what it was.
Yeah, they pushed it back indefinitely. It was one of those things. They were one of the games that like kind of got caught up, I think, in that Silk Song window. And they said, well, if we want to push away from this a little bit, why not push it to the point where we're really comfortable and we're going to feel like we're going strength for strength here? Because, I don't know if you saw that, it was back, a couple months before that, Yacht Club Games was saying if this game doesn't hit really hard, it might be nearing the end for them just because they spent so much money on this.
Yeah, which is crazy because man, well, it's interesting because like I kept thinking about that. I did see that thing, and I'm like, didn't like Shovel Knight did really well, and then I remembered, oh yeah, they literally like fed you like 4 extra games for free on that game for like the past 10 years.
Yeah,
with no extra cash. Like I never paid for another like expansion to Shovel Knight, and I got Spectre Knight, I got the Alchemist Knight, I got King Knight, I got all those games. I didn't pay for any of that.
I bought it initially. I don't think I bought it on the Kickstarter. I think I bought it just when it came out for real.
Yeah.
And then I did end up buying it again on the Switch just because that was a really good way to play it. But I mean, for the most part, most people probably only bought it once. And that's just a hell of a long time. I mean, even if you've only got like, I think their team is like 15 people. It's not a lot, but that's 15 salaries that are going for a very long time without necessarily a whole lot of additional, on ramps for people to contribute to the cause,
Right. Cyber Shadow was barely kind of pushed either. Like that was an interesting thing because like I bought it and like it was very like, but it didn't have like the same like oomph that Shovel Knight did. Shovel Knight was an indie darling when it came out.
Yeah, so. And Cyber Shadow was one of those things. I think it was published by Humble, and I had right around the time of the IGN acquisition of Humble and stuff like that. When they were a fledgling like indie label, you had heard a lot of stories about like the returns for the developers weren't necessarily what you'd hope, and that maybe the marketing for those things, once again, wasn't what you had been led to believe you were going to get. So, they didn't necessarily throw Humble under the bus or anything, but it's like, you can, based on what everybody else was kind of saying, the smoke on the street, and then you put 2 and 2 together, you can start to see how they got here. So,
yeah, for sure. It was interesting. I'm hoping that Mina does well and they get to continue to make games, and then maybe just put some paid DLC on Mina later on if you want to keep developing on that game. That would be nice.
Yeah, props to the Silk Song people for saying all their DLC is going to be free and all that shit. It's like, but I don't want people to get false impressions that that's how everyone can and should do it. Because at a certain point, if you're going to go more niche, if you want to get exactly what you want, you sometimes need to understand the cost has to go up, because there's just not as many people in the pool for that experience, right now, like have Metroidvanias as a genre ever been hotter than they are right now? No.
Right.
And, Hollow Knight was one of the most successful ones. It is higher selling. Hollow Knight itself, just the first one, has sold more than the entirety of the Metroid series.
Yeah. It's huge. That's insane. That's an insane number.
Then the game that gave it its fucking name over 30 fucking years ago, like, wow. Hey, no shade being thrown to the Hollow Knight guys. I'm just saying, damn. Like when they say, hey, we're going to throw out some free, chicken bones here, it's like, I'm sure you guys got some money.
I think you're all right. I think you're all right.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to cut your throat over this. So, yeah, you'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's big.
outside of picking up some new hardware, what else do you be getting into?
We dropped by a little retro shop in Cincinnati called Retro Revival. It was pretty fun. Had some good stuff in there. Had a bunch of Atari paraphernalia in there that was really cool. Some classic Atari stuff. Like I don't know how like rare that is in the video game collecting community. I don't think it's very. But it full several full inbox NESs, which was cool. I thought about getting one of those just because I've never owned an NES box, because the one that my dad got us for Christmas was a used one and it didn't have the box with it. So, but it had the zapper and it had all the stuff. It just didn't have the box. So, if my memory serves me, I think that's how that went. But it had some cool stuff. I almost bought a Super NES Aladdin because I'd never owned a Super NES Aladdin, and then I realized that my brother has all of our retro games in his collection, so I would just be buying that to put over in his house, so I didn't bother buying that. Also, there was Bubsy 1 and 2, which I almost bought, but they were both $20, and I was like, I don't know if I want to pay $20 for the Bubsy games, even if a Bubsy 4 has been announced. It's like, you think this will go up in price if a Bubsy 4 comes out?
I don't think there's going to be a big rush on the Bubsy.
No, I don't think so either. It's amazing how much that game has had life for how bad Bubsy 3 is, because the Bubsy games aren't bad, 1 and 2, nothing wrong with them, perfectly normal SNES fare, but Bubsy 3 is like comically awful. So
yeah, and even Bubsy 3, I don't know if you saw recently, some of the original developers went back and fixed it.
Okay.
Yeah, like they went back and redid some of the controls and everything, and it'll even still run on a PS1 and stuff like that. It's cool. Those new like recompiling projects and stuff like that, I think, are fascinating at times. Like, especially with people who, I'm sure were under a hell of a lot of duress to get this thing out the fucking door, are able to go back 20 or 30 years later and, atone for their sins, which, but yeah, I went to a retro game store in the last week that I've been seeing these guys on YouTube. They're in Lexington. They're called Quick Flips.
Okay.
It's this dude who, like, he for years, I guess, I haven't been a subscriber for very long, but he was just like, going around the Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio area and buying stuff, and had a flipping business on Amazon and eBay out of his basement.
Nice.
And even at one point had like 8 or 10 employees working in his basement at his house. And then they've recently opened a store in Lexington.
Okay.
It was pretty cool. Like, I didn't buy anything while I was in there this time, because I'm not really looking for anything right now. It's one of those things where I still haven't gotten all of my stuff out of storage, and I've already gotten to the point where, like, I had a U-Haul truck that was basically just comics and video games when I moved. And it's like, at a certain point, you're like, what are we doing here, man? Like,
right.
And so, I think I need to call and then focus on, what I truly care about. And speaking of that, I did a thing yesterday as of this recording. I kind of got to the point where I realized that I hadn't turned on my Xbox Series console in quite a long time.
Right.
In the wake of all of my friends abandoning that console, and then the price hike on Game Pass, and just me having a general lament of where they are at right now as far as, in the industry, I just decided, you know what, these Xbox One games, none of them are exclusive. because they're all on PC, and most of these I fucking own there, or I own them on PlayStation, or I own them somewhere else. So I traded in my physical Xbox One and Xbox Series collection. I've kept my 360 games. I've kept my original Xbox games, Xbox One and Xbox Series. You can see a big gap there where they were.
Right.
But yeah, so I traded them in and got, like well over $1,000 out of just those discs at GameStop. Like, it's, and I bought a PS5 Pro.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I traded in my launch pink PlayStation 5. I felt like, with the new PSSR and the fact that all my friends that had abandoned the Xbox are all on PlayStation, it's like, if I'm going to play my PlayStation, might as well have the best possible experience. And I didn't fucking know anybody who owned a PS5 Pro. So I was like, all right, well, I'll be the guinea pig. Fuck it.
Right.
And it's nice. So nice. For the games that do support it, long story short of how this works is that for the most part, most games have like a fidelity mode that it'll run at like true 4K at 30 FPS with like the highest quality settings, or it'll run at 60 on a performance mode, which is usually some form of 1080p to 1440p, resolution scaling and, details turned down and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, the PS5 Pro, for the most part, it supported whatever that fidelity mode is that was 30. It just runs that at 60. So basically, you get the best of both worlds. You get fidelity and the frame rate in one.
Right.
There's some other stuff that seems to do more with it. Like the Resident Evil 9 apparently has a new version of PSSR Pisser, which is their PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. Yeah, that's what it is. PSSR, stupid name. But it's basically their version of DLSS. And it, does image reconstruction, all that kind of stuff. And it looks nice. Like it's, and, in this day and age, it was, it takes the internal storage up from, I had one of the launch units. It was like 825 gigabytes to 2 terabytes. So bigger internal storage. And, the only downside is I had to buy the fucking disk drive because none of them come with disk drives.
Right.
But yeah, I like it. It's wholly unnecessary. But I don't know. I had a bunch of store credit. It's like you got to spend it before GameStop goes out of business. So
exactly. Yeah, got to spend it out. So there we go. Nice. A lot of. I was shocked at the number you dropped when you said that you had traded that in. I thought it would be like you got like $40 for all this.
No, and by the time I added in my launch PS5, it was like almost $2,000.
Yeah.
So I still have a shitload of fucking credit. Like, I don't really know what to do with it other than just reserve a whole bunch of upcoming games. It's like, because I was looking at the other stuff I could buy, and it's like, I don't want one of those stupid PlayStation Edge controllers. I don't fucking want a PSVR 2. I don't need another fucking Oculus. It's like, I'm looking in the store, and it's like, I own a Switch 2.
Yeah.
But there ain't really much I can buy here other than fucking baseball cards. Like, fuck.
Yeah, we're in the middle of the console life cycle right now. There's not a whole lot going on. So there you go. But yeah, it's an interesting time. I don't know what the console landscape is right now. I'm so removed from it. It's interesting. I've never considered myself a PC gamer, but like now that's pretty much exclusively what I do is just play on Steam, and it's typically like smaller, indie games. So,
Well, and honestly, outside of 2 to 3 Sony exclusives a year, you can own whatever the Nintendo current thing is in a computer and play everything.
Yeah.
Because we're at a point where, and this actually, it's convenient that you mentioned that timing wise, Sony announced this week that they're going to stop. Well, they didn't announce this. It's the big rumor is that they're going to stop putting a lot of their big, first party, like Last of Us style, big budget single player games on PC. And
yes.
That's obviously because, they're gearing up for the PS6 and they don't want to degrade the value of their console as something that, you don't need it. Because it's like, well, if you just wait 6 months, you'll get it on computer.
Right.
But yeah, it's, we're definitely at that point in the life cycle. And, hell, Microsoft announced their new thing this last week. So that's weird.
Yeah. That was interesting too. So I
don't need one of those.
Yeah, it seemed early to do something like that. I don't know.
Well,
the life cycle thing, I don't know if it's going to be the same thing that it used to be. Like, it kind of feels like consoles are going to be more like supplementary style, PC things. I don't know. So it's interesting.
Well, you got to think where we're at time-wise. It doesn't seem like it because the last 6 years have been so fucking weird, but we're 6 years into this console life cycle. And they typically last around 7 or 8 years. So if they're talking about launching next Christmas, and last week was Game Developers Conference, GDC. So, and Microsoft was going to be talking about it. So they figured rather than it leaking out and becoming like a poorly kept secret, fuck it, we'll just say it. Hey, we're making a new thing and it's going to be a PC and an Xbox. And it's I like the idea. If they can keep the thing priced appropriately, nobody has been able to put a PC in the living room.
Right.
People have tried, Valve did the Steam box years ago. They have the Steam machine coming out later this year. The whole set top box kind of thing has been, it floats in and out of fashion from time to time, but nobody's been able to grab a foothold in the living room with a computer. I don't know if Microsoft is poised to do that, but it seems like they're going to fucking try.
It feels like the generation is ready for that. I don't know. Like I feel like it's always just been too early to try and get people into that mindset. I think nowadays, like the generations are so inundated with PC lifestyle that you could probably get away with it now.
I don't know if you saw, Capcom announced when Resident Evil 9 came out that for the first time, the PC version of Resident Evil 9 made more than the PS5, the Xbox, and the Switch versions combined.
Right.
Yeah. It is, PC is their most prominent platform.
Yeah.
And that's got to be true for most other companies as well.
Yeah.
It's it makes me curious, like, where we're going to go from here. But I've never been more apprehensive about the future of game consoles than I am right now, simply because I know Sony's going to launch something and it'll do fine. They are the incumbent. Nintendo's going to continue chugging along with what they're doing. But what concerns me is that they're not in direct competition with one another.
Right.
They're very different things. And without someone being in direct opposition to Sony, or when Sony gets too far out ahead, we've seen what they do with that kind of power, and they tend to abuse it. And that's how you get the PlayStation 3, is that they ran so unopposed against the GameCube and the original Xbox that they were like, fuck it, it can be however much we want it to be, and we can put all kinds of dumb shit in it and make it look like a George Foreman grill. It's going to be a good time. And, I would even say that, like, even this generation, like, a lot of people haven't blinked at a lot of the, shittier things that they've done. Or, like, you haven't heard a lot of people complaining about how, like, Sony, what are your teams actually doing?
Yeah.
Like, Naughty Dog hasn't put out a game in 6 years, and I don't think this Intergalactic game is going to be out within the next 2 years. So does that mean that they're going to go the entire PS5 lifespan without releasing a single fucking game?
They're always like the last hurrah, though, aren't they? Because like Last of Us was like the last bit for PS3.
Yeah, but they had also
Like
released 3 Uncharted games that same fucking generation.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Like, so I don't know. Maybe they're just like, we'll do the last hurrah for this one too. So I don't know.
And then
yeah,
even
like,
the PS4 lifespan, they had that. They opened the generation with that Last of Us Remastered, which in my opinion doesn't really count. I mean, it was nice, but it's not a new game.
No.
But they had Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us. Granted, Last of Us 2 was walking out the door the last seconds of that console, but like this generation, they had that remake of The Last of Us Part 1, which was okay. But it's once again, it's not a new game. Like it's just it's fucking not. I don't care what Sony, how they want to spin it. That ain't a new game, dude.
No,
that was something that was very smart, and it was good looking and all that other kind of stuff. It was designed to get The Last of Us back on a shelf when the show came out.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
It did a good job at that.
It did that exactly. So
yeah, it did its job. But I don't know, and I guess that's all just to say, like, even with all of my reticence, I still bought a PS5 Pro,
right?
And I guess this will cost me the next 2 years,
right?
But yeah, I've never been less sure about games are doing fine,
right?
But the weird thing is, consoles are in this odd spot. And, really, for the most part, outside of your, like, diehards that are playing the PS5, they're still playing some of the more traditional stuff. But, like, when you look at the top 5 most games, top 5 most played games list every single fucking year, it's shit from, like, 5 years ago. It's GTA 5, it's Roblox, it's Fortnite, Minecraft. I mean, like, and then whatever the most recent Call of Duty is every fucking year.
Yeah.
It's you true. Can say, hey, it's the new Call of Duty, but it's still Call of Duty. We've
seen it. Like, we know what that's about.
But then, like, when you look at like the PC and the Switch and stuff like that, you see this, indie games are like a phenomenon, and there's all this other stuff that people are playing, and there's this cabal of people that play Escape from Tarkov like it's a job and shit, and you're like, that's cool. And like, if you walk into a room of people who just own a PlayStation or an Xbox and say, like, you guys heard of Escape from Tarkov, they're gonna go, escape from what? From who?
From who?
It's just it's a whole other planet to these people.
It's true.
But yeah, so what you been playing, Brendan?
I played a little bit of Absalom, not a lot. I just basically booted it up to see how it felt, how it looked. Beautiful game. I love the art director on that thing. I've followed his art Instagram for a while. He's always doing like phenomenal art. So it was really cool to see his stuff kind of in motion there. Love the character designs in it. Super cool. I'm excited to kind of play through that and play some beat 'em up action with you. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I played through. Absalom was on sale, and we have a history with the beat 'em ups, and I was like, this would be a fun thing for maybe us to return to some video content kind of stuff. I played through the first, let's call it hour and a half of Absalom. I didn't want to get too far solo. That game seems awesome. I really like it. The characters are very different from one another, and the abilities are very cool, and it's the art style is hard to describe. It is hand drawn. It's
French.
It's hand drawn in a way that, like, I really like it. It doesn't have like an oil painting look to it. It looks like just hyper detailed pixel art.
It's very it's cel shaded in a way, but dark crushed inks, like very dark crushed shadows. Which is kind of a new look for a lot of things nowadays. I feel like Silk Song or the Hollow Knight series kind of like inspired that quite a bit because they do a lot with black and whites in that franchise. But like just very dark shadows on I would say almost muted coloring. So it's interesting. It's very interesting for a video game.
When I look at the coloring of that game, it is a very specific thing, and if you don't have a lot of experience with the platform, I'll understand. But to me, the palette and the very dark color hues and tones reminds me a lot of like the Turbo graphics and the way that people would deploy color on that. Like Dracula X, was always such a much darker shaded game than the Castlevania games were on any other platform. And that is a holdover from it was a Turbo Graphics game when it first came out. I really think Axel looks awesome, and that's a game that we should get some video footage of and put up on the YouTube. So
yeah, absolutely.
Look for that in the coming weeks.
Yes, that should be fun. Should be a lot of fun. But that's all that I have played apart from some tabletop stuff. Awesome. Yeah. So there you go. What have you played? I know you finished RE9. I know that was
I can breeze through a few of these. We talked kind of ad nauseum about Resident Evil last week. But I finished RE9. That game, everything I wanted it to be. It really it's like a Snickers, baby. It's satisfied.
It was very much like a callback like game. Like it was so quote unquote reference heavy, but it was like in all the good ways you could think of. Like, I don't know. It just it was
I never
fun.
felt like somebody was digging an elbow in my ribs and going, because the awesome thing is that so much of this stuff, if you never played a Resident Evil game before, these kinds of references, when you're smart about doing callbacks or references, the person who's consuming the content, if they don't have prior experience, they just breeze right by it. It's kind of like how Pixar movies put adult jokes in there, and the kids don't get it, so it goes right by, and the adults get to chuckle at that. And that is a deft hand approach to doing these sorts of callbacks, and I really liked it. And I did go back. We talked about this after the podcast last week because I was worried that it was some kind of glitch that I had encountered about the boing, boing, boing sound effect. Boing, boing. I went back. I found Tofu. He's hanging out around the RPD. He's got a beret on, just like he's supposed to. It's super good. But I loved RE9. I don't want to go too much deeper into it other than just to say like that game is, if you have any inclination to play it, you should. I finished that, and then rather than immediately doing a second playthrough, I went back to RE2. I'm replaying RE2. I'm mostly done with Leon's campaign.
The first one or the new one?
The remake.
The remake, that's funny. That's so funny because like the guys that I watched their RE9 playthrough, a couple of friends on Discord, that's immediately what they did as well. That guy, like my friend who'd played through RE9 had never played the second remaster, the second one, and so he went back and started playing the remaster. So I noticed that they were still playing as Leon when I got back on Discord. I'm like, did you guys finish? Because I was like, this doesn't look like RE9. Did you guys finish RE9? And it's like, oh yeah, you're playing too. So yeah, they just Leon's the GOAT, man. You got to go back to him. So that's just all there is to it.
I really like RE2. It's it holds up as well. Like it's a very different game than RE9, but I got all those vibes of the Raccoon City Police Department and just wanted to go back. I'm continuing to kind of plunk away at that and having a really good time. The last thing I'll talk about before we get into kind of topic of the day sort of stuff is I started Spider-Man 2. I had played through, I guess this was a couple of years ago when we were on our hiatus. I played through the Spider-Man Remastered, which was really good. I had never played it. And then I played through Miles Morales and really liked it. And then, but I played those right before Spider-Man 2 came out. And then when Spider-Man 2 came out, I said, I need a little breath before I go into this whole other one of these. But yeah, I'm really liking Spider-Man 2. I've really, only done just like the first couple of chapters. But man, on the PS5 Pro, holy shit, that game looks fucking awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, that is a technical powerhouse of a game, man. And just easy breezy to play. Like Spider-Man is like Batman, the Arkham games. It's just, it's a good game to come home from work and just, I want to like turn off my brain for like 90 minutes. Yeah. And just kind of melt into this couch for a little bit. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfectly good for that. So it's so funny that like those games basically were brought in from Spider-Man 2 all the way back in the PS2. Just like, hey, this web slinging stuff is really fun to do. What if we made that better and then made the rest of the game good? It's like, oh, cool. Yeah. So,
well, and what's funny is, they, was that still Treyarch that made Spider-Man 2 for the PS2
games?
I think so.
I want
but yeah, like they had 12 years between Beanox and all sorts of other developers that had tried to make a better Spider-Man 2 game, and nobody fucking was able to do it. And then, bring in Insomniac, who a storied developer, but had never had a mega hit. They had a lot of big hits, but never like, the Ratchet and Clank games always sold pretty well, a few million units here and there, that kind of thing, successful. But they had never had this just like fucking phenomenon. And man, that first Spider-Man game was it. And they've continued to do well. And I want to see what this Wolverine game is going to be.
Yeah, me too. Wolverine's the type of character you can impart the idea of being that character really easily and in a very cool way if you do it properly,
Well, and they're doing the right thing. They're making it M-rated.
Yep, exactly. I would even say that like that old Wolverine game where he was played by Mark Hamill for some stupid reason, like I think it even did like a decent job of letting you be Wolverine, like in a very early video game sense. Was that an Xbox 360?
Are you talking X-Men Origins Wolverine?
I think so. Yes, which is way better
than the bloody one.
Yeah, the super bloody one. Yeah.
That game was awesome. I didn't know that was Mark Hamill that played Logan.
Yeah. It's not great casting for Mark Hamill. I love Mark Hamill, but it's like, I don't see him as Wolverine. It's like, but Wolverine gets miscast all the time outside of Hugh Jackman. But I would love to see a Wolverine game that would really, hit. I would love to hear the guy who played him in the 90s X-Men cartoon. I forgot that guy's name. But he re-upped his role in the X-Men 97 remake too, and it was fantastic just to hear him be Wolverine again, because I'm like, that's Wolverine's voice. It's not Stephen Bloom, it's not Mark Hamill, it's this guy. This is Wolverine to me. But I would totally be down for a Wolverine game. I think that'd be fun as hell. So
as long as someone says snicked bub, I'm in.
All right, bub. Let's go, bub.
But that's kind of my thoughts on Spider-Man 2. That game is no shock here 2 years after it comes out. Guess what? That game that everybody said was really good, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's worth it. I'm sure you can get it on a discount now.
Right.
But yeah, so I sat down and this was another one of those, I think it was a Next Fest demo. I downloaded the Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly demo for the PC.
Yeah.
I got some bad news, Brandon.
Is it just jank? Like, what's the problem with that?
The PC version of that game is fucked up.
Yeah.
There's no settings. It forces DLSS to be on. It doesn't have ultra wide support, let alone super ultra wide support. All the menus are backwards. So normally on a menu, you would say, a switch to the left is off. And when you switch it to the right, it's on. They're all backwards. And I got
Weird.
that wrong every single time.
Is that a Japanese manga reading thing? Is that like, I don't know. Like,
the only thing I can
weird.
think is that it's like the old Metal Gear thing. You know how like in Japan on the PlayStation controller, circle was the approve button and X was the go back button. So whenever you go back to like Metal Gear Solid 1 to fuck around with that thing, you're always accidentally leaving menus and shit for the first 2 hours. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why the Nintendo consoles, A is on the right and B is the lower button, because in Japan, and even in their menus still, like on Nintendo consoles, that A button, that's the approve. But like I just, it doesn't run very good. It didn't look very good. Granted, it was a pre-release demo. Hopefully they can patch this thing up. I have not looked. It's been out for a couple of days. I don't know if let me click away really quick. Hopefully nothing blows up. I want to look at Metacritic and see if anybody's reviewed this thing.
Sure. Is it possible that it was just like they didn't care? Like, it's like, whatever, put this thing out. Because they did do the fourth game remastered a couple of years ago, if I remember right. Didn't Blackwater get a remake at some point? I don't know.
So, and that's where that delicate line between remake and remaster is. So that was kind of like a remastering. This is more of a ground up remake. Also, this is a team that doesn't necessarily work on PC very much. Koei Tecmo does not release a lot of games on PC. I'm glancing at the
Japanese company. So.
Yeah, they're not big in computers. But yeah, glancing at Metacritic, score is, we'll call it mixed at a 73. So, it looks like it's not like a hideous game. The PC version specifically, it's the only one I can attest to, definitely needed some love. It's also like I wish they had. So there's two ways that you can do a remake, right? So there's the Resident Evil 4 remake, which is a very different game in some ways, but it stays true to the vibe of that game. Resident Evil 2's remake is the same way. But, they made some changes, they modernized it, but it stays true to the feel. And then there's more of a slavish remake, like the Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta Snake Eater remake that just came out, where it is the same game. It just looks better.
Okay.
It is like, like nothing changes about the way that it plays, about the way that the controls work. It is just, if Hideo Kojima sat down and made that game today, this is what it would look like. And so that is kind of what I would describe this Fatal Frame to Crimson Butterfly remake as, is something that they were seemingly terrified to modernize anything
of it. Is this, it's interesting because Fatal Frame is, as I said, 2001. So that was like, this was like sort of the new generation of horror games going into things like that. So you had, in the 90s, you had Resident Evil, you had Silent Hill. Those things were terrifying and scary. Fatal Frame was this definitively Japanese idea, I would say, because it harps on that idea of like cameras like capturing people's true essences and souls and stuff like that, which is prevalent in a lot of culture. But like that idea of this felt like a Japanese horror movie in a lot of ways. So
if we want to like kind of dovetail this into like a little bit of history section of like Fatal Frame 1, so this was, the concept, and the game was directed by a guy named Makoto Shibata. He worked on the Deception series. If you're familiar with those, the games where you set all the hilarious traps and shit. Weird series of games. Then he also wrote and I think did a lot of the like story direction scripting for the original Neo. So he's been with Tecmo for a good long time. But this was like kind of his baby. And so this was in the wake of, like, Resident Evil was successful, But this game was really informed by Silent Hill. Like he, the folks at Tecmo, saw Silent Hill, when that dropped in, I believe that was 99. And just said, we need to do something like this. And that was around, Ju-On had been a really big success. This is, the movie that eventually got remade in America was Sarah Michelle Gellar, and they called it The Grudge. That is a spook house movie. And also was an attempt, to bring horror to the masses, because it, wasn't like a bloody affair. They were all, in the United States anyway, they were PG-13, so they were able to make a teen-rated game, something that could really scare you, but is something you would also get for like a teenage kid. It opens the appeal of horror beyond, the more focused scope of something you get with like a Resident Evil, where it's like, oh, that's just a bloody thing, we're not going to get that for you, that kind of thing. The PG-13 teen horror movement was still very much a big thing in the United States, and Japan and Europe. The game it's a pretty simple setting in the first one. So it's Miku. She's looking for her brother. I believe his name is Makuyu. And, basically you play the prologue chapter as the brother. He goes to a mansion and scary things happen, fade to black. You're the sister. You're looking for your brother. You hear that he was going up there. You go looking for him. And you end up, this is the first, as far as I know, I did some research on this. This is the first person game. Well, a game that it deploys first-person mechanics in Japanese horror. Because as soon as she gets, to the mansion, instead of guns, you get the camera obscura, which is the camera that you use to capture the essence of the ghosts in this house to kind of, free them from their worldly prison. Because that was, if you go back to Ju-On, the reason these people haunted this house is that, they died in an incredibly intense way, and their soul was not willing to let go of it. And the camera, can capture their essence and free them and, and send them away as a peaceful entity. Which I think is cool. Like it makes for, it doesn't force the users, because this was first person on console games was still very new. So you play the game from third person, like your typical fixed camera angle Resident Evil style game of the day, but it's not pre-rendered backgrounds. It's fully 3D environments because you're on the PS2 and the Xbox. Everything looks much better and you got more horsepower. But when you go to actually aim the camera, boom, you go into first person and you can shock the enemies with a flash and things like that so they stand still, and you build up a meter around it, almost like a focus lens. And when that fills up, you snap the photo and you can capture them. It's a hell of an idea for a game, because the ghosts are great at like creeping you out when you're running around anyway. You have the sixth sense about you that senses when they're around, and you get these premonitions of where they're going to be and stuff, and it's all very cool. But forcing you into that tight FOV of looking through a camera, it's intense. Like, does it last for the entire experience? Has it deserved for there to be as many entries in the series as there has been? I don't know.
You don't know.
You like these games?
Yeah, I think they're always like just sort of they're not long affairs either. I don't think any of them are like super long in any case of anything.
No, they're all 8 hours, 6 hours.
Yeah. So I think that's a deserved amount of time for what you're doing. I do think that the impact is lessened after your first run for a lot of people. I know some people that play this game and for all the way up to the end are still terrified to put that camera up because they don't like seeing spooky stuff. So, it all depends on if you can like kind of like, like get over that hump of things or whatever. So, but this was kind of the first experience that PT kind of gave me, which is that the idea of PT, the playable trailer for Silent Hills, was that the idea was you had to experience the scary thing to advance. Like that was the whole idea of it. It wasn't like, oh, I have to run away from the crazy person or I have to run away from the ghost. It's like, no, you have to go confront it. You have to get the scare in order to advance past to the next thing in the game. So, which made for a very interesting way to do a Silent Hill game to me. So it always did make me think of Fatal Frame, because the only way you can even confront any of these enemies is to look them very directly in the face and let them scare you while you try to take their picture. Is very fun. And, to this day, I still see like streamers like go back and play these games and like they're like terrified to freaking pull that stuff up. And it's interesting. There's 5 of these games, I think, like 5 official entries. Because there was one Spirit Camera Project Zero, which I think was, did they not have the rights to Fatal Frame as a title? There was something about that. It was like, is the Wii edition
thing? 3DS game, right?
The Wii. Well, yeah, I think there was a Wii and a 3DS edition of it, I think. But yeah,
I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I've seen Spirit Camera before. I don't know the lineage of that. I think it might be some of the folks that had worked on it that were not part of the team anymore that wanted to make like a spiritual successor kind of thing. But yeah. I don't know off the top of the dome with that one. The one thing I will say, you talk about like the enduring terror that this thing can give you, and it is there, is that, it's not the same for everyone, is you have to ask yourself, do pop scares work on me?
Right.
Pop scares are very prevalent in the series. Like, I remember, one of my favorite pop scares in the entire game is walking out in the courtyard for the first time, within, the first hour of the game. And, someone is dragging a body under the, the stairs that you're standing on. And, it's one of those things that like, like when you go in a genuinely scary house anyway, you have to keep telling yourself like, none of this stuff can hurt me, because whenever these scenarios are going on, that's not when the ghosts are going to attack you. That's just to like set the scene for you, kind of give you some sense of how these people died kind of thing. And, those are really good pop scares. It's just the thing that, like, if we're going to continue this series, I think we need to have an honest conversation of how do we expand the gameplay of this. It's like what we talked about with, RE9 last week, is that, you have to, for you to have an experience that lasts the 10 hours or whatever that, average game length is nowadays, you have to find a way to change gears. Yeah. And the issue that I always had with the Fatal Frame games, granted, I only played the first 3. It's just, it never was able to find, fourth gear. It's it would get you ready and it would give you some good ideas, and the atmosphere was there, the pop scares were there, but as far as like engaging gameplay, once you get to that point, it's like, all right, now what are we gonna do? It's like,
you hit the nail there. That's kind of was my experience with these games. I remember even playing. I enjoyed them all the way through. Sure, like it was a fun experience, but like when me and my friend played these, like the end result of everything was always way less impactful than when you started the game. Like it never hit as hard as like the start of it. The best scares in the game were always towards the beginning. Like, and whether that's just because they were mapped out the best, or because they were just like you weren't ready for it at that time, or you were revving up to this idea. I think it's you're 100% correct. There needs to be like some extra tweak with this idea to like get people involved. I think a good example that you brought up years ago when you played that zombie game on the Wii U, where you had like the security cameras or whatever, and at one point the security cameras go offline and you don't have your literal utility that you've been using through the whole game, and now you have to go through a bunch of zombies without the thing to win it. Maybe take the camera away, maybe something, for a little bit, something to and build an anticipation or rev up to another gear to bring that thing back in. It game design is weird that way. You have to you have to keep people engaged, but you don't want to totally shift away from the theme that you're trying to go for. So
yeah, I don't need a motorcycle chase scene from Resident Evil 9 in this thing, but what I want is what this game thinks its motorcycle chase scene is.
Yes, exactly. Like, what would that be? What would be like the most tense situation for the ghost hunting camera game? Like, boil that down to its most distilled level and then give me that scene. That'd be interesting. So what if the camera had a ghost? No. Or what if the ghost had a camera? How about that? they can take your picture. I don't know. It's just like, you'd need like a whiteboard of games or whatever, which is why I think they've just kind of stuck to remasters and remakes at this point. They're just kind of like,
I definitely think that this Fatal Frame 2 remake, it came about because Silent Hill just hit it big with their remake and their re-entry to the series. Resident Evil games are killing it, and Koei Tecmo sitting there going like, "Why not us?" And
we got one of those.
Yeah, it's definitely, you start to feel like, I don't want to call this the B tier of that stuff, but it kind of is.
Yeah, I would say it always was.
It's like, it's definitely like closer. If these were all movies, this is more like the schlockier genre fare. Silent Hill is more art house. Resident Evil is more like action packed.
It's mainstream.
Your Nightmare on Elm Street. Your Friday the 13th kind of thing. And whereas and I compared it to the movie The Grudge. Where it's like, this is your teen aimed like PG-13 horror thing that's like, let's get the teeny boppers in here too. And it's like, I don't want to sound like I'm necessarily like dragging the game through the mud or anything, but it's like, if we're going to re-enter this space, and I want Fatal Frame to be successful.
Yes,
I do, because more horror series, the better, because damn it, we should have more and better horror games. It's just, I would hope that like, if they sit down and they think about it after this and say, all right, we're going to make the next great original entry in the Fatal Frame series. Right. I want to see them find another gear. Whether that is like, hell, man, like, have part of the game take place, in the real world, in the world of the living with the camera, and then have part of the game you're playing as someone that's dead. What is that?
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
You can almost have that be the way that Silent Hill flips their stuff, like when they have that parallel realm in the Silent Hill games, the nightmare realm, what's that like? You're a brother and a sister, and the brother's dead, and then the brother is helping the sister from the other side, kind of thing. You could do that.
Yeah.
And, I think there's a lot of potential there. But, that's not for me to decide because I don't get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, totally agree. And, like bring in the camera aspect to it. Like, what if the camera is utilized in different ways too? Like, maybe there's a mystery to be solved here, that not just utilized it to, to exercise, to exercise things. Maybe the camera would unveil certain clues to some bigger mystery you're trying to solve, or reveal that some like living person is possessed by a ghost or something to that degree.
They've done a little bit of extra. They've done a little bit of that, but it just definitely feels like untapped potential.
Yeah, like something a little bit more, and then like maybe halfway through they take the camera away, and you don't know what to do at that point, and then you have to, figure that out. It's like imagine if like the camera obscura and like the big new game, like 4 hours in, the camera just gets smashed, and you're just like, oh shit, like what do we do now? Then you gotta, that something else has to get figured out or something, and you get a new super phone camera. I don't know, like it's just whatever the
well, and I always like the
be.
idea of if you're gonna make a new installment, like one of the things that I've really liked with this era of new horror stuff is taking the scope of the old one and maybe have it start out in a mansion, it's similar to the first one in this one, and then you realize pretty quickly, you could have this be your camera gets broken kind of moment, and it's like, fuck, I gotta get out of here, and it's you're this Japanese schoolgirl who rode there on your blue Japanese schoolgirl bike, and then you got to ride it down this hill, and you're going to town, and you find out the town is the town of the dead now.
Ooh, yeah,
shit, I have to find a new camera somehow, and it's and that is how you take what was a really tight scope of the original one and you blow it out a little bit. It's there's a lot of potential to do something like that, and I like the idea of it. You bring in the cell phone shit in there, and having some weird shaman bless a cell phone and go, this iPhone 16 Pro
is now
the Fona Obscura.
Fona Obscura. Yeah, it's something. Yeah, I mean, it can be silly like that. I don't think that that's out of the realm. It's that's. Yeah, because it still imparts the same idea. No,
it's the thing that I think embracing some of the stuff, at least acknowledging that these things exist, is important, because it's like when you watch a horror movie that's set in the modern day and they act like cell phones don't exist.
Yeah, it's annoying. You're or they have to immediately ram home no signal. They have to immediately say, this is gone now. You can't have that. So
yeah, it's the most inconvenient at times. What do you mean?
Well, that's preposterous. Curse your sudden and inevitable betrayal. So yeah. But no, I totally agree. I think that this is there's room for this series, even though it's not my favorite, even though it's not something that I crave in any way. I look back fondly on this series, and it would be cool to see a resurgence episode of this sort of thing that'd be oh yeah, that game was awesome, and now it's getting a new one that's even cooler. So
it's unfair. My memory of this game is really unfair, just because I played this game in my dorm room in college.
Right.
My first semester, I had a movie theater projector in my dorm room that shot a 100-inch screen on the wall.
That's right, yeah.
And we played this on the OG Xbox with an audience.
Wow.
That's of really people hooting and hollering and screaming and all that. It was fucking great.
That sounds amazing.
It was so much fun.
The most optimal way.
Getting the absolute shit scared out of you. Yeah. But it's absolutely... So that was the first 3 or 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And then you realize pretty quickly it's just people hoot less, people holler less, the returns are diminished. Yeah. And that sucks. Just because I feel if this series, and I don't want to beat a dead horse on this, but it's man, if the series could find a way to change gears at the right time, you could fall back and that other stuff will still work again.
Yeah. But easily. Yeah.
It's why in Resident Evil 9, I drummed down about this last week, having those Leon sections to ease the tension, to make you feel powerful for a moment. When you go back to Grace, that's what makes you feel vulnerable again.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't need to be an ultra power scenario. It's just something that runs at a different speed. That's why I said have someone who's actually a ghost that you play as, or something like that. I think that's the potentially a way forward. And right now, horror games have never been hotter than they are right now.
Yep.
Resident Evil 9 is on track to potentially be one of if not the highest selling game Capcom has ever had.
Yeah.
So and these are the people who fucking make Street Fighter and Monster Hunter. So I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, But that's about all I have to say about Fatal Frame today. I think it's a cool series. I wish at times it was better, but I'm down. And who knows? But maybe the PC is not the way to play this game. Yeah. The reviews for the console game, like I said, it's got a Metacritic of 73 on the PS5. I got that new PS5 Pro. Maybe that's where I end up sitting down with this thing at, and maybe I have a wonderfully fun, goofy, experience revisiting a classic.
Yeah, and as you said, it's an early demo and stuff, so maybe they'll clean some stuff up for the PC later on.
Well, and you can mod in a whole lot of things to fix fucked up games.
Yeah, exactly. So, and maybe it's a little bit cleaner on the PlayStation version. But yeah, it's but as you said, we haven't had a new game of this since 2014. That was the Blackwater, Maiden of the Blackwater.
That was the Wii U.
Yeah. That was Wii U, and that was 2014. That's the last. It's been over 10 years since we've had like an actual entry, because all the rest are remasters in this remake. So it's, it would be cool to see this again. Again, like you said, horror games are huge right now. Like let's think about this and bring it back. I think it'd be fun. So yeah,
I think everybody needs one. Because everybody's looking at like Capcom to spark up the Dino Crisis franchise or something else again. It's and that's fine if Capcom wants to have multiple horror franchises. I think they have the creativity to do it, but it's like there's a lot of other companies that are fully capable to do this. It's just you need the right creative vision, and time and money. Yeah. And I know that time and money are really hard to get from companies right now. It's a weird time financially. Yep. But yeah, I think, there's no reason to say that they can't have one that, somebody else, couldn't bring one. I've been saying since Doom 3, I would like id Software to do a fucking horror game.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
They have the tech. They have the tech. Yeah. That like a super moody, atmospheric, dark horror experience out of them, I think would be fucking awesome. But I don't know why I'm in such a horror mood lately. It's I've been feeling it.
Yeah. There's things to get out of it for sure. So there you go. But yeah, it's probably the Silent Hill resurgence and all that stuff too. It's like, man, but it would be cool to see some more. I would love to see it. But that's going to do it, I think, for our episode, Hoss. We have successfully rammed out another one. So that's going to do it to where we bid you guys goodbye. This has been the Video Destruct podcast. You can check us out at videodestruct.com and on all our social medias at Video Destruct. And you can also
follow me on Twitter at Hoss_buddy. I sometimes repost video game deals and complain about sports.
Yes.
It's always a good time to be a sports fan.
Yeah.
Hey, that World Baseball Classic, fun.
Yeah, I love the World Baseball Classic.
America almost got drummed out of that thing, but we were hanging on by the thread. We're playing the Dominican Republic tonight.
Yes.
As of this recording, which is why I didn't want to record tonight, because I'm fucking watching that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. This thing has grown. Like the American Baseball Classic has grown steadily over each year, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been fun watching other countries too, because you got guys going over and playing for those, and it's like Lars Nootbaar going over to play for Japan, stuff like that. It's been fun. It's been fun to see that.
The guys, like almost the entire Italy team is Italian Americans.
Yeah,
and they're like they're all doing the hand shit, and they're fucking. If you get a dinger, when you get back to the dugout, they give you an espresso. Like it is a whole. They are like the most stereotypical fucking Italian dudes you've ever seen. I think it's wonderful.
That's great.
And yeah, I think it's super cool. Like I've been formulating an idea, and I'm telling you, with the success of this World Baseball Classic, I think I have solved the 162 game baseball season problem.
Right? Yeah.
So it's too long. There's too much of it.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking was, instead of an All-Star break, because people don't really care for the All-Star game and the home run competition isn't what it used to be and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What if you move the Baseball Classic to the middle of the fucking season, and they take a month off, and they do the World Baseball Classic in the middle of the season?
Yeah. That'd be cool.
you treat it almost like how the NBA has gotten such better ratings because they do that beginning of the season, that the interleague thing.
Yeah, the interleague stuff. Yeah. Now that'd be
You know,
great.
I think just cutting the month of July out of the season, and then do 3 days. 3 days of games. Like in New York and in Japan and in France and all this kind of stuff, and then you take that entire month and dedicate it to a true World Series. And I think it's awesome.
That'd be great.
You can, and if you get the MLB to buy into this thing, you could call it the International World Series.
Yeah.
And so that gives you the opportunity as a league to have 2 huge paydays, your MLB playoffs and this thing as the opportunity to punctuate. And what would you be up against in July? Fucking nothing.
Nothing. There's nothing
on
there.
TV. There's nothing on TV.
Like US, like UFL, like is that but that's like early spring, isn't it? So
and WNBA's threatening not to play this year because they seem to think that their salaries need to be what NBA players are.
It would help if you didn't, like, the first year they earn a profit, they're like, oh, we should get paid more, right? It's like, you've been operating in a loss for a while.
Here's the thing. A raise.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
But there is a big gap between where you are and where LeBron James is. I mean,
when you've been supplemented for the past 25 years by the NBA, I don't know if you have a lot to stand on with that. So,
I'll end our little sports corner here because I'm sure a lot of people don't give a shit about this. But it's like I find it really funny that the woman who brought prominence to the WNBA as a TV draw, everyone in the league hates her fucking guts.
Exactly. Yeah. So
and they all act like, well, she always acts like she's the face of the league. I'm the face of the league. And Caitlin Clark has never once said she's the face of fucking anything.
Never.
She just wants to play basketball.
She just plays basketball really well. And
I've never heard her talk shit about anyone.
Yeah, it's funny.
And it seems to drive these people fucking insane. It's like it would be so much, for them, it would be so much better if she was just a fucking bitch.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like,
if she was a real, like, if she was like a real
I'm the greatest of all time.
If she was a Rodman, that would be way better. But honestly, it would probably be better. It would probably be better ratings for the WNBA if she was that type. But that's always a draw. Controversy.
Get Eric Bischoff in here.
Yep. Controversy creates cash, baby. You were success. I love that his podcast is titled after the only time he's ever had success. I think that's hysterical to me. But I don't hate Eric Bischoff, but I think it's funny that he always pushes 63 weeks. Like, that's it. That's all you ever had.
Yeah, you had 83 weeks 30 years ago.
30, that's all you've ever had. Vince McMahon, other than right now, has 30 years of full successes, in the wrestling business at least. But yeah, man, sports, baby. But that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week.